Okay, next thing we're going to show you here is how to prep for the Easyboot Glue-On process. And the prep is, I'd say, equally or more important than the gluing process. Prep's essentially you do it correct. It's essentially you dry the hoof. It's essential that you rough the foot, how we're going to show you today. So we recommend a couple different tools: hoof stand, rasp, hook knife, wire brush, denatured alcohol, and also a heat gun. So the denatured alcohol and heat gun, we've been only recommending that step if the feet are wet or if the feet come out of a wet environment. So a dry hoof can skip the denatured alcohol and the heat gun. So you want to start with a well-trimmed foot, flare gone, hoof clean, and the step I'm going to show you here is really the most important step you can do for glue-on success. So this is a clean hoof. What we're going to do is we're going to use a rasp to really rough up the walls of the hoof. We're not taking much off the hoof this way. All we're doing is using the edge of the rasp to put grooves in the foot. Those grooves help accept the glue better and give the glue something to bond to. So with kind of a downward side angled stroke, what we're doing here is putting these little serrations in the foot. I'm not taking off a lot of wall. I'm just putting grooves in the wall. When you feel this with your gloves, you can really feel how rough this is. I really recommend you use gloves during this process. One, protects your hands, and also you're not taking the oils from your hands and introducing them to the hoof wall. That's what we're doing to rough it up. This boot is ready to apply. Now, this foot, when we come out of a wet environment, what we do next is use denatured alcohol on the foot. This is just taking all the moisture out of the hoof. We want to make sure this is totally dry if we're going to do anything with a heat gun. After you use the denatured alcohol, wait for the hoof to dry. And denatured alcohol will put a slight film on the hoof. So although we've dried it, we want to come back one more time with the rasp. Slightly rasp, take off any film that denatured alcohol leaves. And the one last step, if this hoof were to come out of a wet environment, we'd want to use a heat gun. You can skip the denatured alcohol and heat gun if this is in a dry environment. So with the heat gun, you just want to keep everything below hairline, around the hoof. So now we're ready to go. The hoof is roughed. We've dried the hoof. We have a nice trim. We're ready to go to the glue-on process. And Kevin, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Only that I think the roughing process is really important here. The rougher the hoof, then the better the boot is going to stick. So don't underestimate that step in this process.